Good afternoon, and we resume the August 24th, 2023 meeting of the Palm Desert City Council, successor agency to the Palm Desert Redevelopment Agency and Palm Desert Housing Authority. May we have the roll call?
Councilmember Harnick,
Here.
Councilmember Nastandi, Mayor Pro Tem Quintanilla,
Present.
Councilmember Truby,
Here.
Mayor Kelly,
Here,
all councils present.
please stand. And Councilmember Harnick will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by inspiration from Mayor Pro Tem Quintanilla.
Thank you, everyone. Let us start today's meeting with gratitude for surviving a catastrophic event without the loss of life. Let us hold in our hearts the people that will face challenges in the years ahead. Let us keep humility in our soul with the understanding that other communities will take years to recover. The foresight of city leadership, from council to public works to finance, have created and maintained an infrastructure that helped Palm Desert and the strong response to Hurricane Hilary, while our staff and business owners were impacted if they were unable to leave home. As Henry Ford stated, coming together is a beginning. Keeping together is progress. Working together is success. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any report from closed session?
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. There's no closed session report this afternoon. There's no actionable items taken.
Thank you. We have important awards presentations and appointments. Recent events have reminded us that the city of Palm Desert is defined by its staff and its residents. And both staff and residents of this city really shined in their dedication, their support for each other, and their resourcefulness. For 18 years, a very special employee of City of Palm Desert has helped to define that superlative culture. And because this person is anticipating retirement soon, we want to take a moment to be inspired by her example tonight. Mr. Saya.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, members of City Council, citizens and residents here of Palm Desert, and employees of the City of Palm Desert. It is my great honor to recognize an exceptional individual who has left an incredible mark on this beloved city. For an impressive 18 years, Ms. Barbara Blythe has been the embodiment of unwavering commitment to professionalism and excellence within our employee ranks. Her tireless efforts have not only elevated our city standard, but have transformed them into a beacon of excellence that are modeled by other cities. Barbara's passion has manifested in a number of ways. Her dedication to the growth and enhancement of the city's visitor service center has kept it going through many relocations and evolutions. Her commitment has created an atmosphere of warmth and high levels of customer service, and it's a testament to her devotion to this community. Her influence extends beyond the Visitor Services Center Barbara is also dedicated into our digital realm, running the city's social media accounts, which especially this week showed the extreme importance in communicating to this community through those accounts. Barbara has been transparent with these communications, also with a dose of good humor, and it's been a hallmark of all her efforts fostering a sense of togetherness within inside City Hall. Barbara has enhanced our city's reputation, deepened our connections, and inspired us all with her dedication and wit. As a reflection of her years of service, we are reminded that her contributions will continue to resonate long after her well-deserved retirement. Thank you, Barbara, for your exceptional service and enduring impact. We are truly grateful for all of your efforts. To the City Council, to the city staff, residents of Palm Desert, we want to recognize Barbara Blythe as our next employee to be on the city's Enduring Excellence plaque, which enshrines Palm Desert employees for their enduring impact on the organization and the community at large. Thank you, Barbara.
And there's more. Barbara doesn't just do a good job, she makes us laugh while she's doing it. And that is so invaluable. So we have a proclamation, of course. Does it make a reference? Let's defer this till next month. It needs to be changed. Whereas Barbara Blythe is completing 18 years of service to the city of Palm Desert, during which she has consistently exhibited the highest standards of professionalism, leadership, and commitment, all infused with humor, bringing out the best in all of those around her. And whereas Barbara's unwavering dedication has been instrumental in elevating the city's visitor services center through various transitions, consistently elevating the needs of both visitors and residents and creatively addressing challenges. And whereas Barbara's commitment to transparent communication and her excellent work in handling the city's social media accounts have played a vital role in keeping residents informed. And whereas Barbara's contributions have left an indelible mark, we are going to declare September 8th as Barbara Blythe Day. Woohoo!
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. If I had known this was coming, I would have prepared something because that's the way I roll. I will just take a brief second to say it has been my absolute honor and privilege to work for the city of Palm Desert since the middle of 2005. We have seen a lot of changes. I've seen a lot of people come and go, but without a doubt, I have worked with the best people possible during the course of that 18 years. And by that, I also want to include our wonderful council members as well. You are amazing, every last one of you. You all have talents that you bring to this job, and it is a privilege to work with each and one of you every day. And it has been my honor to represent the city of Palm Desert to the best of my ability. Thank you.
Did we succeed in surprising you?
Yes, I
Woohoo!
absolutely 100%. I thought maybe we were being congratulated for what we did last weekend. So I dug a hole in my backyard and wrote social posts at the same time. So it was all good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank
And stay, stay for the second one. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We also, I told you that we're defined by our staff and our residents. And tonight we also want to honor and be inspired by one of our most impressive and dedicated residents. In August, we celebrate Health Clinic Day. And that prompted me to think about who is special in our community and the delivery of health services. I invite Dr. Diane Vines to come forward. We in Palm Desert are supremely privileged because Dr. Vines came to us with an extensive and professional career in delivery of mental health services, nursing administration, and teaching. And she has put all of that to work in leadership of an important street medicine program for our nursing students at CSUSB Palm Desert campus, which trains them not just in medical services, but in the ever important human dimension of nursing care. So it is my great privilege to share these thoughts. Whereas Diane Vines came to the Coachella Valley with vast experience in nursing, nursing administration, education, and mental health, including teaching appointments at prestigious universities, service as a community psychiatric nurse, and leadership of the street medicine program at the University of Portland. And whereas for the past 4 years, Dr. Vines has put all this experience to work as director and principal investigator for the CSUSB Nursing Street Medicine program in the Coachella Valley and San Bernardino. And whereas this unique program infuses nurse trainees with deep appreciation for the needs of unhoused persons and the sensitivity to address those needs. And whereas Dr. Vines' leadership will have positive ripples of influence in the delivery of medical services and caregiving offered by her students for years to come, we are pleased to declare today Dr. Diane Vines Day. And Dr. Vines is current chairperson for our Palm Desert Homelessness Task Force. So we are indeed blessed.
Yes, it's been my pleasure to serve in street medicine since I've been in the desert, and I'm very proud of Palm Desert. You may not know it, but the services here that we provide and the care for the homeless is really remarkable. And the number of housing units that you're developing that might be housing units for low-income people, all of those things are really admirable. So it's my pleasure to serve on the task force, and it's my pleasure to work with all of you. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
May we all be inspired by both of those terrific examples. City manager comments.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have a couple of comments tonight. I'd first of all like to introduce Lieutenant Dan Forrest, who is currently filling in for Lieutenant Chris Willison while he's at the FBI Academy. And Dan has been working closely with Chris Escobedo and myself, and really doing a great job responding to the community concerns and things that get passed on to all of us. So I'm going to take a little bit of time to introduce Dan and say thank you.
Hello, good afternoon, Madam Mayor, council members and executive staff. My name is Daniel Porras. I'm a lieutenant with the Riverside County Sheriff's Department. I'm filling in for Lieutenant Wilson while he's in training right now. I'd like to start off really quick to thank the city staff, the fire department for assisting us during this week's storm, or this past Sunday storm. We received over 193 calls for service, 150 coming starting at 3 o'clock to midnight, trying to help the citizens of Palm Desert. And to fill you in, school started. Our new SRO is in place at Palm Desert Middle School, the charter school, along with the SRO at the high school. They're there helping the students and the staff every day, trying to make a better place for everybody involved there. Our traffic team is out there continuing, trying to make an impact with traffic enforcement, DUI, using our OTS funds. But most importantly, I'm here. I want to thank you. I'm a resident of Palm Desert. I grew up here, and I'm excited to be working with the city to better our area and the citizens involved. So thank you very much.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I would also like to take a little bit of time. We've been working together to put together a recap of this last weekend's storm events, just to bring the community and council up to speed on the efforts by staff, some kind of before and after pictures, a quick report back on some of the investments that we've made in the community and how they held up. So I'd like to invite Ryland and our Public Works team up with him to do the presentation. Before Ryland gets started, I would like to just publicly acknowledge the efforts of Sean Muir, Brad Chuck, Randy Chavez, Martine Alvarez in our Public Works Department for the coordination last Saturday, right on through the storm events itself. All of them did just a great job interfacing with the public, starting with handing out of sandbags and then responding to calls. In fact, Brad Chuck had his two boys here wheelbarrowing sandbags out to folks. So it was a family affair. Mindy Escada, who coordinated our Emergency Operations Center, I'd like to thank her, as well as Ryland Penta, who did a fantastic job in keeping the community informed and the council informed as far as what was going on. I thought the six of those folks, just from a coordination perspective, really made us proud. So.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is Ryland Penta, as mentioned. I have been acting as the Public Information Officer during the most recent storm event, Hurricane Hilary. Today, I'm joined in this presentation by Martine Alvarez, our Public Works Director, Randy Chavez, the city's Deputy Director of Public Works, and Sean Muir, the Community Services Manager, which includes our Parks and Recreation and Landscape teams. Our City Manager, Todd Heilman, will also speak to next steps at the near end of this presentation. This presentation will start with how the city prepared for the storm, our actions during the storm, and the following remediation efforts afterwards. On Thursday, August 17th, the city activated our Emergency Operations Center, known as the EOC. Our communication strategy kicked off simultaneously, which included creating a new webpage on the city's website and updating our site's navigation so residents could easily find storm information. This new page was updated every 30 minutes from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. during and preceding the storm. We sent a press release to our media contacts so they could notify residents of available resources and emergency information. We also sent an amended version of this press release through our email listserv to strategic groups. This included residents, businesses, and HOA communities. Residents of the Palm Desert Housing Authority were sent a message and provided a flyer that offered provisions that were available and who to contact in case of an emergency or if their unit was damaged. Twitter and Facebook were also updated regularly, roughly every 20 minutes during the storm. These platforms were instrumental for sharing storm updates, but also clarifying technical terms like the difference between a flood watch and a flood warning. Our Nixle text and email systems functioned as they should, getting National Weather Service updates to our residents. And I'm proud to report that our communication strategy led to a positive public perception of our city's efforts during the storm. At this point, I'd like to pass the microphone to Martine to share information from Public Works.
Thanks, Rylan. Good afternoon, Mayor, members of the City Council, staff, and public. As Rylan indicated, we want to walk you through a couple of the items that occurred during the storm, give you some updates of what's happening now, and then we'll go into some next steps with our city manager. This response really started on Saturday prior to the storm arriving, and it started with our activation of our city employees. We activated close to 35 employees, including some administrative staff, all of our streets crews, our landscape teams. And the main effort on Saturday was to provide the sand and sandbags for our residents. We distributed over 50,000 bags and over 300 tons of sand through our residents. So that was not it was a team effort. We also had partners at the fire department helping us with sandbag distribution. And then the community itself really lended its hand as we had the focus here at Civic Center to provide that sand. So there's so many different thank yous. We could sit here and thank a lot of different people. We'll save that towards the end. But our team sprung into action and started looking through all of our streets, our drainage systems to be prepared for the upcoming storm. They prepared all their equipment, chainsaws, pumps, rain gear, and they loaded their trucks up ready for road closures to go into action. What occurred during the storm? As we know, there was a large volume of water that came during a short period of time. These are just some examples of hundreds of different areas that were impacted. Our city staff quickly coordinated with each other, with our public safety folks. And this is just a snapshot of what occurred during the storm event. Grapevine Street, our first initial effort was to make sure that our roads were clear. Those roads that were passable were cleared with trees that were down, flooding that was occurring. We shut down streets that needed to be shut down. And we're just trying to provide safe access for our residents that needed to be out and also for our public safety crews. Picture there you saw was 111 that was heavily impacted and some of the other areas. This is something that we want to focus on. The decades and decades of investment that the city council has made over the last several years or decades has really proven its worth. This is just one snapshot of the Cook Street Whitewater Channel. The Palm Valley Channel held great. San Pasqual Channel held great. And there's numerous of just examples of how retention basins came into play. Our drainage system held really, really well. And again, this is decades of investment that the city put forth. All of our bridges, all of our low crossing areas, Cook Street, we were super impressed with it. Did not have to close at the high school, the Whitewater crossing there. And it really was a testament to all of the investment that has occurred. This is just one recent example of newly installed infrastructure at Whitestone Lane. The picture there on the left is a picture of a 2016 storm that occurred, and this had been a routine drainage issue for us with just routine storms. And the picture on the right shows the actual drainage in action during the storm, and it held really, really well. So we're very proud of our capital programs team that just recently completed this project. Again, we went into action with the team and just started doing some post-storm assessments that's still ongoing. There are numerous areas that have been impacted, including some of our medians, our parks. The pictures here, you see some of University Park East, that's some flooding. The big tree there on Fred Waring, that's obviously been cleared. Freedom Park was another major issue that took a lot of water. So our teams are constantly doing the assessments and getting ready to deploy our crews and our vendors to start the repairs in the next coming weeks. Proud also to report that all of our traffic signals held very well. Our team was out there immediately. That there's some traffic signals that were on flash, some that were completely without power. We worked with Southern California Edison. They were a big help to get us back up and running. So currently, the only closures that we have is Gerald Ford east of Cook all the way to Frank Sinatra. We have Frank Sinatra east of El Dorado at Tamarisk, currently closed. We hope to have those open in the next couple of days. Those are some really low areas that took some damage. We also worked with our fire department and public safety teams to address a very critical issue that happened at Spanish Walk. This is in the northern part of our area along the I-10 corridor between Cook Street and then east towards El Dorado. There were about 34 homes that were impacted with severe flooding. They were red tagged for public safety purposes, and we also helped residents find shelter. We provided some transportation for them with help from some of our partners. We were able to get in and help those residents that were significantly impacted. The work at Spanish Walk continues as we speak. We're working with that community HOA to provide cleanup, to provide assistance to get a lot of the silt, mud, and debris that is inundated about 5 or 6 buildings along that northern part of the community. We will go through and also continue our assessments of that specific area and see how we can also try to come up with some additional projects down the road to assist this area that was impacted. Just to recap some of the major trouble areas, Gerald Ford there on the top, that is east of Cook Street. That was under significant amount of water. The crew's out there pumping the water to try to get the road open. Gerald Ford again mentioned at Cook, significant issue there, but the teams were able to quickly get in and try to open those streets up. Fred Waring, a typical area at the Whitewater Channel, also is another area that took some damage, but it is now back up and running. We were going to be looking at permanent solutions to some of these low points that we've encountered. Of course, this was a significant storm that we really need to kind of look into additional flooding and retention areas. And I'm going to turn it over to Sean Muir, Community Services Manager, and she can walk you through some of the park issues that we've encountered and next steps for that.
Afternoon, Mayor, City Council. Sean Muir, Community Services Manager. Just a couple of notes on parks. So the parks were some of the areas of the city that were most impacted by the storm. Civic Center Park alone lost 60 trees, as Martine mentioned earlier, is approximately 400 trees throughout the city that will be needing to be replaced afterward. At Mag Falls, we had a tree that actually fell onto the playground, as you see in the photo there. And then Freedom became so inundated that we had to get in and shut down electrical to stop any possibility of electrocution, close down the park and make it safe for the community. So right now, all parks except Freedom Park are reopened. Crews have got in and cleaned up the trees that have fallen and any safety hazards. Playground inspections have occurred at all the playgrounds in the parks, with the exception of Freedom Park, and we'll be working to reopen that soon. But again, it's closed until further notice. So that's the update on parks. From here, I'll turn it over to the city manager to finish this out.
So staff is currently working. We've prioritized our remediation efforts on the streets, the parks. We are also going to be recommending that we update our comprehensive drainage study. This most recent storm has definitely shown us a couple of areas that are going to require additional detention down the road for any rainstorms of significance. So we're in the process of completing design on the Section 29 drainage basin. That is the basin that you've seen in the North Community Park near I-10 and Portola by Genesis. That will have a definite bearing on assistance in a storm like this down the road. And we've also asked our engineering team to take a look at are there additional investments that we can make in the northern part of the community to deal with some of those areas such as Gerald Ford and areas that are more on the east side of Palm Desert. So we'll be coming back to you, updating that drainage study shortly and making some recommendations on additional capital improvements. We've had several questions about whether or not this is going to be categorized as a federal disaster area, and will we be able to recoup any FEMA funds. I think that we're not optimistic about that happening right now. We are, however, actively working with our insurance company regarding reimbursements for all city-owned assets, the cleaning up of the parks, the replenishment of the tree inventory, those sorts of things. So those are actively being pursued by staff right now. The documentation is being put together, and we'll be back to you with some additional recommendations based on what we're learning from this last storm and where that investment needs to be made.
And certainly, we have to thank our staff. We have to conclude with an expression of gratitude and deepest appreciation for the staff and vendors who contributed to Palm Desert's successful and impressive storm response. This includes city staff from across the organization, but particularly the following groups: Public Works, Capital Improvements, Landscape, the street team, facilities, our emergency services coordinator, Mindy, and our public affairs team who supported the communications effort. And there are also exceptional vendors to add to this list. Of course, the Family YMCA for contributing vans to help with the evacuation, Granite Construction, TriStar Construction, CTI, West Coast Arborists, the Residence Inn by Marriott, and Burtech and Wilcorp. I also think it's important to express our appreciation to the residents for taking precaution and care with this storm. This was a serious event and the community came together. So with that, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
First, we want to express our deepest gratitude to the entire Palm Desert team. Now, questions. Council, have any questions? I know when we get to council comments, folks will have their own perspectives. Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We discussed earlier the concept of landscape and trees. Is there a possibility of doing some sort of incentive for folks to say, I have a eucalyptus, help me get rid of it. I have a palo verde, help me get rid of it. Because that would be another way to reduce the likelihood that this could continue to be a challenge, for sure in our city parks and facilities, but also with residents.
We can certainly take a look at those types of things when we bring back some recommendations on different types of landscape and that we would authorize moving forward or even incent. So nothing's off the table right now. I think we've learned that we need everything we can to help the permeability of this system.
Thank you, Ryland. Mayor and council member reports and requests for action. I'll start to my left with Councilmember Harnick.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, there's a number of things and we all have heard so much already today. It's incredible what's been done. I did want to mention that we had an opening for our community art gallery, which is in City Hall, 2 doors over. It was called Awakenings. It was put on hold during COVID and it is back up and running. Erica Powell worked on that and did an amazing job. And Councilmember Truby was there as well. And it was wonderful to see the reaction of our community to all this great art. And I encourage everyone here, when you have the opportunity, go on over there and take a look. It's a wonderful offering that Palm Desert provides to the community members and to every guest who comes. And on the note of Erica Powell, everything you hear about our staff, our team doing, they do more than you'll ever know. And at my Rotary Club, Erica Powell was our speaker the other day and did an amazing job telling all the Rotarians about our wonderful public art program. We've had Dr. Vines as well come speak to our Rotary. So we have, but Erica did a great job and they do so much more than you'll ever know. To really uphold our city and to make it as great as it is. I want to mention as well, I needed sandbags. So I went over to Civic Center Park and it was truly inspiring what I saw, because the organization, you would have thought that this is what this team did. It was so well organized. They knew what they were doing. They had 4 different piles of sand, so everybody had an opportunity to get in there. And the team members, I guess it was Public Works, and they did an amazing job. And again, you would have thought this is what they did because it was so well organized. But our administrative assistants were there. Everybody was there. The people from Public Art were there. I mean, all of the team were there to help the community members, and to watch the community members and our team come together to help each other. It was so inspiring. It was moving to see this. It truly was. And I know it helped so many people and avoided so much really a disaster. But to see each people, and again, the people with wheelbarrows helping people with the sandbags get to their car, everyone, it was that crisis factor. It brought out the best in everyone, and everyone was there to help each other. And it was wonderfully inspiring. And we talked about outdoor workers because of the heat just in July. How about on Monday what they were doing? So who knew that it was going to be a tropical storm the next time? And they were all out there keeping our roads safe, keeping us safe, and it was pretty incredible. So, you know, that outdoor worker appreciation is year-round, no question about it. It was really incredible. And again, Councilmember Truby was there loading up sandbags for people, bringing them to their cars. It was just an inspiring thing to see. And I want to remind everybody, because at this time there is need for blood products, and the live stream, the 9 City Challenge goes until next Thursday, which is August 31st. So if you can donate blood, please do, and make sure you mention Palm Desert so we get the credit, because we would like to win, but we also want to save lives. So the question becomes, whose life are you going to save? So please donate blood.
Perfect. Councilmember Nastande.
Well, I'm going to pile on with all the kudos and thank you to staff and Martine Alvarez, who heads up the Public Works Department, and Randy Chavez, and just I don't want to leave anybody out. But this past summer, when we were on our summer break, I was visiting my daughter who lived in a different city. And by comparison, there was a major storm there, and she and I were driving somewhere, and we almost got flooded out on a few of the streets with her car. And I couldn't help but compare to the reaction of our city and all the help and the sandbags and the people in this other city. I'm not going to mention names. People were just left on their own to figure things out, and the infrastructure also, you know, was not well maintained. And I really, really appreciate our city of Palm Desert. I can say, I think it's one of the best run cities in the United States. And that's a big kudos to our staff and everybody. So thank you again.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. At this point, I can't say enough how much I echo the sentiments. We could clearly go on for days. And while I didn't make it early for the sandbags, when I did go later to see if there were any left, I saw Amy there with a big smile saying, we don't have any more. Where it was a stressful time, I was really impressed, the upbeat attitude with which you were redirecting people, and where it could have been chaotic and frenetic, your positive energy clearly rippled through. So I wanted to give you that bit of praise for that. A couple meetings here and there, but I know we've got a thick agenda to get through. I'll also echo the blood bank that was on my list to mention as well. And I think last year we missed the challenge by 1. So every single one of your donations makes an impact. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councilmember Truby.
Thank you. Okay, yeah, I did have a chance to go down there on Saturday to Civic Center Park. In fact, I got the notification on Facebook today, you know, we're have sandbags ready for distribution there at the park. I thought, well, I'll go down and help. And I can tell you, the staff did not need my help. They had everything under control. There were probably well over 100 people filling sandbags. It was so, as everybody's already said, but it was so amazing to see what could have been a really stressful, high tension, acrimonious situation was just so smoothly run. It was orderly. And I couldn't help but think it looked like our staff did this every single day. Whereas this is like a 1 in 20-year event. And I had to remind myself, like, look, this is something that they got called upon to do at the last minute. And boy, did they respond. It was just a beautiful thing to watch. I'm so proud to call myself a City of Palm Desert employee and City of Palm Desert resident. And I couldn't be more happy or proud. It was just remarkable. And something to remind of 50,000 bags. That's incredible. However many tons of sand, 300 tons of sand. And I know for sure folks from other cities were coming here to fill up their bags because we were prepared and our staff had planned ahead. And this was the place to as always, Palm Desert led the way. And it was incredible. And staff from all departments. I expected to go down there and see just public works. Well, lo and behold, there's from across the board, we had staff members out there pitching. It was incredible. So proud. A couple other just notes. I know it's been a long time since our last meeting. In the meantime, all 14 homes on Merle have closed escrow in our affordable housing project. Really happy to see that. One thing about the library project I want to mention that I hadn't mentioned or thought about up to this point is that we have a robust veteran resources program there. And I just want to make sure that when we transfer over to the municipal side next July, that program is maintained. And just a reminder that let's not forget about that. It hasn't been mentioned at this point. I just want to make sure that that doesn't fall through the cracks moving forward. And I was, again, just last but not least, so proud to see that Whitestone drainage project, which was under a little bit of dispute and whether or not it was going to be a worthwhile project. It performed beautifully, and lo and behold, great work on our Palm Desert team to make that happen. So thank you so much.
My colleagues have told the story well. From my personal perspective, each time I reached out to Mindy, our emergency services coordinator, to Ryland, our public information officer for the present challenge, or Todd Eilman, our city manager, they were able to be responsive in minutes, not hours, in addressing whatever need I presented, because the entire staff was on deck and working with immense dedication. You represented the best culture which has defined this city, and I could not be more proud. Things went comparatively well in Palm Desert because of that dedication and because of decisions made in the late 1970s and 1980s, in which this city began what became a $60 million investment in flood control infrastructure. That's 60 million, mostly in 1980s dollars, so double or triple that. We need to keep that history foremost in our minds as we look at the weaknesses the storm exposed and the challenges that we can anticipate in the future from similar or other climate events, because we are called in our time to be just as prescient and just as faithful to future generations. Now, we come to the opportunity for residents to bring issues.
Madam Mayor, I'm sorry to interrupt, but there is one more city manager comment.
Please.
I apologize. I dropped the ball on this one. I'd like to ask Amy Lawrence if she could give council just a brief overview of the efforts to date on the 50th anniversary planning. Thank you, Amy.
Good afternoon. Honorable Mayor, member of the City Council, I'm Amy Lawrence, Deputy Director of Economic Development. And I'm here to present on the city's 50th anniversary celebration. I'd like to give you an update. The event is scheduled to take place on November 18th from 3 p.m. to 10 p.m. at the Civic Center Park. And as you well know, in July, you all awarded a contract to Palm Springs Life to produce the event. And since then, they have made significant progress on the planning and programming, and we are very pleased with how things are moving forward. Next slide, please. With regard to event programming, while we don't have any specifics to report just yet, very sorry about that. I can say that they are booking live entertainment to activate the amphitheater throughout the day and into the evening. They are in the process of securing some wonderful visual and interactive art installations, as well as roaming and spoken word performers. There will be a beer and wine garden, a variety of food trucks, kids activities, and they're also going to be working on special activations such as the Taste of Palm Desert and the Best of Palm Desert. They will also be incorporating a storytelling heavily into the event with tell boards and the city's timeline from incorporation to present, including major milestones, such as the incredible things such as the flooding channel information that we've just heard from the mayor. There are many ideas swirling around the project to include somehow incorporating the timeline into the Palm Desert Community Gallery's 50th anniversary exhibition. So more to come on that. Next slide. This slide is just a sample of some of the lists, a list of the institutions, organizations, and businesses that Palm Springs Life is in the process of reaching out to for potential support with the event. Taking a quick look at that. We also have gotten word from the shops at Palm Desert. They will be allowing us to use their parking lot as a shuttle drop off and pick up for the event, which is great. Next slide. And so Special Events Coordinator Shelby Goodwin and I continue to hold weekly logistics meetings with Palm Springs Life. And within the next few weeks, we'll be able to reveal the formal event name and branding, as well as the entertainment and artist lineup. And we'll also be able to share a list of secured sponsors and marketing and promotion plan to include a website dedicated to specific information on the event. So the monumental and celebration is going to be extraordinary, unique, and we'll have something for everyone, just like Palm Desert. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
We'll save them mostly.
You'll see me again soon, maybe at the next meeting, and I'll have a pretty good update for you then.
Perfect.
Thank you.
That timing was ideal since my comments pointed to all we have to celebrate about the last 50 years. So,
thank you.
Now we come to the opportunity for residents to address us about topics which are not on the agenda. This is a chance to call our attention to things that may require our attention. So we do ask everyone to limit your comments to 3 minutes since items are not on the agenda. We are closed from getting into a discussion, but we might give brief instructions to staff for follow-up. Mr. Mayor, would you please give technical instructions to those participating virtually?
For those on Zoom, if you want to participate in public comment, please click the raise hand button on your computer or smartphone. If you're joining by calling in on your phone, please dial *9 to raise your hand, and when called upon, press *6 to unmute yourself. And please keep your comments to no more than 3 minutes. Thank you.
I have a request to speak from Lisa Ford.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council, City. City Manager, thank you for the invitation to come and speak. I just found out late today that Erica has received our request for sponsorship. So I know that at a special meeting, City Manager and a group of you will be looking at this request. But as a proud resident of the city of Palm Desert, and very proud mama of 2 raised in the city schools here, one of which works for the city of St. Helens in their public works department and their water treatment. So I really appreciate all the work that has been done by the city this past week, and acknowledgements to everybody. Way to go. I live at the bottom of Agave, and there's a big storm drain out there, and I prayed all day, please let it stay there and not in my house, and it did quite well. So I'm here on behalf of, I've worked in the city or in the Coachella Valley for the last 40 years in healthcare space, retiring a couple years ago, and I'm very honored that the Alzheimer's Coachella Valley asked me to come back and do a little business development for them. So next month at your meeting, you'll be looking at a request for sponsorship, and I certainly hope that you will give favorable outcome to our request. This is an organization that's independent of the Alzheimer's Association, so we get no funding from the big behemoth. We are a very small, independent organization, have resided here in the city of Palm Desert for the past 7 years, and we have grown from 800 square feet to almost 8,000. So on November 1st, we will host an open house. We would love for everybody to come and take part in all of the celebratory activities we have planned for that day, including music. We'll do a ribbon cutting to showcase our new 8,000 square feet, where we house nearly 500 residents from across the Coachella Valley every single month in our program. So I did bring another copy. I wasn't sure if you had received it. So may I leave that with?
Leave that with Mr. Mayha at the end. And I've certainly heard from many people who have benefited from your program. So thank you for your work.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And next is Mr. Donald Ziegler.
Good afternoon to all of you. I'm not used to public speaking, so just bear with me for a moment.
It's just a few friends.
I really feel that way, so thank you. My name is Donald Ziegler, and I live in Palm Desert. I'm here to speak about the dangers and opportunities that go with living in one of the hottest places on earth in the summer. Our valley is vulnerable to the most dangerous climate change impact recognized to date, that of an uncontrolled power outage during a severe, long-duration heat wave. Excuse me. I provided for you with your packets a copy of an article that was in the New York Times on May 24th, and the headline said, "Heat wave and blackout would send half of Phoenix to the emergency room," a study says. It applies to Phoenix, but what is described in the article could happen here under the same conditions. I recently sent you all an email expressing my concerns about this. I received a reply and met with Mindy Escueda, your emergency services coordinator. She gave me assurance that she is aware of the dangers of such an event and is working on a plan for a city response. And I very much respected that. So I urge you to support her in her efforts to do that. But planning a response to such an event is not enough. There are also steps that can be taken to mitigate the impact of the event before it happens. And you're describing how we prepared for the flood over all the years. Therefore, I believe it is essential the city explore and evaluate alternative solutions to the bigger problem, which is the total reliance on utility providers that cannot be counted on to deliver reliable power. And I believe this can only be done by providing local backup power capabilities. And in my email, I listed several actions that should be considered to address how the issue of power resilience might be approached. I don't have time here to address them all with you, so I hope you look at each item in my email seriously. And I also request that you look at some of the other material I have included in your handout that can provide examples of things being done in other places. There's state, federal, local programs all over the country that are tackling this very problem. I believe it is imperative that Palm Desert seriously address issues raised by the changing climate. If the power grid fails and there's a mass casualty event during a heat wave, it could cause not only unacceptable human suffering, but also the collapse of our summer economy. Billions of dollars of investment could be lost if people decided that the risk of staying in this valley in the summer is not worth the danger. Year-round retirees like myself living in the valley would face a challenging financial dilemma. Do you sell your house that it by then has lost its value and moved somewhere else? Or do you stay and face the risk of not surviving the summer heat? It's too late to prevent global warming. That ship has sailed. But our city wisely plans for a hotter, but if our city wisely plans for a hotter future, I believe we can not only survive, but can continue to grow and thrive despite the hotter temperatures. This city is responsible for the safety and well-being of 50,000 people who live in an extreme and potentially dangerous environment. I believe the situation can be addressed in a way that makes our city a leader to the world, or we can pretend it doesn't really exist and there is nothing to be done about it. I'm confident that this city council is dedicated to our city's well-being and will address heat mitigation with the urgency that is needed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
And please apply for a city committee or commission because we have one perfectly suited to this topic. And clearly you have some important thoughts to share.
Okay, well, thank you.
Next is Brian Kim.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. My name is Brian Kim, and I am currently a senior and president of my club at Palm Desert High School. And I'm here today to present our project proposal, which is our very own AI fitness coaching mobile app, LiftNote. This app was created by our own club members and future business leaders of America at Palm Desert High School, which was made for a fundraiser to support the UCLA Mattel Children's Hospital. As ambitious and passionate students, most of us being seniors and some juniors, we're moving on to the next chapter of our lives, college. However, before some of us leave to study in other parts of the USA, we wanted to leave a memorable impact in our communities. Thus, our goal is to raise a minimum of $2,000 for the Children's Hospital. However, as high school students, our experience of marketing, advertising, and business in general is not sufficient. Therefore, we came here today to look forward to finding new partners in helping us learn and understand the fundamentals of business. We can always offer a more in-depth presentation when the council members or anyone here is available. Thank you for having me to speak on behalf of my club, my members, and Palm Desert High School. Thank you.
Thank you so much for bringing this to our attention. Mr. Heilman, who would be the best staff person to reach out to Mr. Kim to be of help?
I can ask Veronica Chavez to reach out to him and we can coordinate from there.
With
Veronica.
Pardon?
Veronica.
Great. Raise your hand. Mr. Kim, maybe you could just approach Ms. Chavez and give her your contact information.
Thank you.
Do we have any public comment from Zoom?
Yes, we do have one public comment, and it is labeled as Samsung.
Hello, my name is Alex, and I have lived in the Valley for 17 years. I'm only 25 years old. First of all, I'd like to say that I'd be there in person giving public comment if I could, but this is the first year that I have decided to leave for the summers now, since it is just way too hot to live there. I want to say how much it sucks because I love my home in the Valley, but each year it gets hotter and hotter due to climate change caused by greenhouse gases and other man-made pollutions, which most of you have participated in. You guys have helped cause this disaster. You guys helped cause me to leave my home for the summers and escape somewhere else with my dog. If you have ever approved a fossil fuel project like a gas station or the expansion of sprawl and development into the north, fragile desert areas, practically getting rid of any remaining desert landscape, you helped cause this climate disaster. We should have been a city with a smaller footprint, but instead we are building outward like Phoenix. We have learned no lessons. All of you that have voted for any housing development that sprawls, you caused this disaster by exacerbating the climate change. By approving the surfing project, you guys helped cause this. So many things that you guys do has helped cause this climate change and this disaster that we survived. Luckily not me because I'm not there, but you guys have the nerve to sit here and say you want to continue being faithful to the future generations, Kathleen. The hypocrisy is so stupid, it hurts. This happened because of you guys and your support of overdoing capitalism. Jan Harnick, last time I spoke out against you, I froze up because I had no speech written, and that just happens in speeches. But you always mention how Sunline Transit does such a wonderful job. Oh, they're so amazing. They do so great. Do you know what that's like for us who have to take the bus? It's like a slap in the face, saying that they're so amazing when they're not. Have you tried riding the bus yet? I did mention you guys should run your weekly errands on Sunline, and I bet that you haven't, because you wouldn't, because you know it sucks. So I just wanted to say that, like Palm Desert is the perfect example of how not to build a city in the desert. You guys keep talking about the amazing infrastructure we have. No, we don't. We don't have any green infrastructure. You guys have given no mention about green infrastructure, things we want like apartment buildings and housing and streets that are less wide for shade and more trees, green roofing, and bus stops with green roofing. Karina just said that we should take down some trees so that way the effects of the next hurricane aren't as bad. What about just stopping the participation in climate change? Like what? It really makes no sense. All of the things that all of you guys say. So stop participating in the climate change. It's like a game to you guys.
Sir, your time has
I will
expired.
continue to call out the hypocrisy when I see it, okay? And this disaster is just like a game to you guys, so you can make it seem like you do work. It's
We
pathetic.
do need to conclude your comments.
Okay, I'm done.
Thank you.
But thanks for making me move out of the desert for
Thank
the
you.
summers. Thanks.
No other comments, Madam Mayor.
All right. Which brings us to the consent calendar. And Mr. Mayor, I believe you had some items to clarify.
Correct. First of all, there is another urgency item. The city council, there is a need to add to the regular meeting agenda consent calendar item 13P to adopt a resolution to ratify the proclamation of local emergency due to Hurricane Hilary. Due to this matter arising after the posting of the agenda and the need for the matter to be considered urgently.
Right. May we have a motion to add that item?
Move to approve the addition of that item for 13P to the consent calendar.
I would like to second.
I will second that.
Let's vote on that addition. And be sure to lock your vote. I always say that to remind myself.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay.
Additionally, I have another clarification. Please be advised on consent item 13J that if approved, the funding for Mayor Pro Tem Quintanilla's attendance at Leadership Coachella Valley will come from her individual council member budget. Thank you.
All right. Anything to be pulled from consent, or is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve the consent calendar as presented.
I'll second that.
Please vote.
Motion passes 5-0.
The next agenda item is item 14A. And after 14A, we will probably take a break just for your planning purposes. Approval of an agreement for law enforcement services between the city of Palm Desert and the county of Riverside for a 3-year term from fiscal year 24-25 to fiscal year 26-27. May we have the staff report?
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council members. So yes, we present for you today the new law enforcement agreement with the County of Riverside Sheriff's Department. And this just basically is another extension of the agreement that we have in place that will end on the fiscal year of 23-24. So this agreement is basically almost the same as the previous one. We have our projected costs. We will know exactly more of the rates when the Board of Supervisors meets in the spring as done annually. Next slide. So the level of services, very similar, almost identical to the previous agreement. Those are the hours that will be supported per day, equivalent of about 28 deputy sheriff positions at about 1,884 annual productive hours per person. These are the non-dedicated positions that are in the agreement as listed above. And then, lastly, those are the list of all the dedicated positions that are in the level of service for this agreement that will be a 3-year agreement starting fiscal year 24-25 and ending in fiscal year 26-27. Available for any questions if you have any.
For questions, let me see if we have any public comment.
Yes, Madam Mayor, Samsung, or I believe Alex.
Yes, hello. Thank you. So it has been 3 years since the residents of Coachella Valley gathered to protest here, right outside in Palm Desert on June 2020 for civil justice reform and shouted chants begging for change and to defund the police. That protest was directed towards the 5 of you. Since George Floyd in 2020, police have killed more than 3,000 people across the country, an average of 3 per day. Police do not keep us safe, and you are about to approve even more millions, increasing the funding. We need to realize that the overinvestment in policing is directly connected to the underfunding of everything else and contributes to our failing infrastructure, public health, poverty, and making our society weaker overall. You guys have a duty to change the over-policing we have now, because that is not what prevents crime. Cops are a response to crime, not a crime preventative. That's why that money should go into social programs like universal basic income instead, which has already proven with studies that it's better. Why would someone go rob a bank or a gas station for money when universal basic income exists? Why would someone shoplift when we have basic income? Why would someone sell drugs if we have basic income? What about our huge homeless issue? That helps there too. So it honestly sounds to me like that is a much better investment than police for $29 million if crime will actually be reduced after. What good use are these millions of dollars down the drain if the results we get are not what is promised, which is public safety? We keep on raising and raising and raising the police funding year after year, and yet crime keeps going up. Maybe this system is not working. You have refused to look at the data presented to you, and you have ignored the protesters. You don't even consider what we ask for. You are so dismissive over what we are asking for, and that's irresponsible. All that ugly truth about the police that was revealed in 2020, and you guys continue business as usual, hiring a corrupt gang force to patrol our streets, even when nobody called them for help, and to harass Latino and Black neighborhoods. What a shame. None of you-
Alex, just so you know, we're not able to hear you any longer. Something cut off.
All right. let's take council questions. Any questions? No. Discussion, motion,
Move approval, the action calendar item A as presented.
I'll second the motion.
and before we vote, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to request that as part of the ongoing agreement, I believe it is important to request the information that the community is asking for, including transparency. And for me, that would mean seeing the impact of the license plate readers on at least a quarterly, if not monthly basis. And I understand that law enforcement is not itself the crime prevention because it's community awareness. I agree that community resources and conversations with Dr. Vines, for example, having trauma-informed responses. There are a lot of ways that we can do this, but if we were able to get consistent reporting that shows where that funding is going, the impact to the community would be very worthwhile. Thank you.
Yes, I think that's the intention.
That is correct. And we are also working with our staff at the Sheriff's Department to make sure that they're keeping a tally and track of where they're helping us solve crimes immediately, how it's being used, and who the information is being shared with. So staff's been on those items the last week, and we're really getting a lot of cooperation.
Thank you. Please vote. Did everybody lock?
Motion passes 4 with Councilmember Quintanilla abstaining.
Thank you. Let's take a 10-minute break.
Test.
People were just itching for the opportunity. And I thought I should give it to them. Hey. Yeah, it is chilly, isn't it? Thank you. We will resume with item 14B. Palm Desert Redistricting 2023. Review of the schedule of public hearings, workshops, and public education and outreach plan. Optional processes for establishing district boundaries.
Honorable Mayor and City Council, I just want to let you know that I am joined by Shalise Tilton. She's a senior consultant with NDC and a retired city clerk who helped educate me in city clerkdom. So I'm happy to be partnering with her on redistricting. To begin, there is 4 optional processes for establishing districts. The first is a council-driven process in which the city council will conduct the required public hearings and ultimately select a final map for adoption. This process was used in the original 2018 district formation process and 2021 redistricting process. It is staff's recommendation that the city council select option 1, the council-driven process, as options 2 through 4 would result in a significant schedule delay to accommodate a recruitment and selection process. Furthermore, the city has selected politically neutral demographic technicians, and we do know that District 1 will largely stay intact, as previously mentioned in past staff reports. So the effort will focus on the most appropriate way to divide District 2 into 4 districts representing the northerly and southerly portions of the city. As noted in the staff report, Assembly Bill 764 is circulating through the legislature and appears to be headed towards approval. Legal counsel advises that this law, if passed, would become effective January 2024, and any redistricting efforts in progress would need to substantially comply or restart the process. Since the posting of the agenda, staff became aware that AB 764 was amended and now requires the city to conduct 2 pre-map public hearings and 3 post-map public hearings, which has resulted in some changes to the proposed schedule. On the original schedule, September 28th was intended to be the second public hearing in which the demographers and any early maps would be submitted to the city council, and the next day, September 29th, the online mapping system would open to the community. Instead, the September 28th meeting is proposed to be the second pre-map public hearing, and on September 29th, the demographers maps will be posted on the redistricting website, and the online mapping system will open. Additionally, given that only 3 post-map public hearings are required, city staff has identified an opportunity to accelerate the process by eliminating an unnecessary 6th public hearing. However, if the city council ultimately needs more time before adopting a final map, this schedule can accommodate additional meetings prior to the April deadline. Briefly, the main elements of the outreach plan include a citywide mailer that would be issued right away, informing residents of that the city is undergoing a process to establish 5 districts and to direct them to the website for the schedule of meetings. In addition, the city will issue at least 2 press releases, weekly, regular, and boosted advertising on social media, radio advertising, legal notices, and a dedicated website, all of which will be in English and Spanish. I will also be reaching out to community and civic groups to offer presentations on how to participate in this process. Additionally, I want to mention that this plan was shared with the ACLU of Southern California and Common Cause. With that, staff recommends that the city council select a council-driven process for establishing districts, provide feedback on the outreach plan and schedule, and adopt the plan if so desired. Thank you.
Terrific.
Oh, and I did want to mention for those who would like to contact me for a community group presentation, my contact information's below.
Any public comment on this item?
I see no public comment, Madam Mayor.
Very good. Questions from council? Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Mr. City Clerk, for your preparation and your time on this. I would like to make a specific request that this be featured on the Engage Palm Desert. I went and I looked for it and I did not see anything that's directly on there. Plenty of other great information is, but I feel that this should have a separate button and a bilingual one, as there have been, for example, with the roundabout sculpture. In addition, I think that some of our residents are hesitant to use the Engage Palm Desert because it requires you to create an account, and that may be a tech impediment for folks, especially when they don't want to share, even though it has the opt-out function. I've been told by folks, it wants me to create an account and I don't want to do that. So how can we find an easier way, or even if just the headline or the first landing page for it before you log in has that information available?
So the redistricting webpage will be completely independent. It's not going to be part of the Engage Palm Desert platform. However, we will have a link to go to the dedicated website. In addition, we are required to post on the actual homepage of the city's main website a link to that dedicated website as well. And then on that website, the actual redistricting website, it will include contact information as well as a sign up, ability to sign up to be informed of upcoming meetings and events. And I am already starting to develop a notification list.
Thank you very much.
Any other discussion? Is there a motion to adopt staff's recommendation for a council-driven process with the schedule suggested?
I'll
I
make that
move
motion.
approval.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion passes 5-0.
Item 14C, introduction of an ordinance updating chapter 8.20 of the Palm Desert Municipal Code, updating public nuisance abatement and cost recovery procedures and making a finding of exemption under CEQA. May we have the staff report?
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, Richard Canoni, Director of Development Services. The item in front of you tonight is a result of a recent code compliance case that we had last month where there was a rodent infestation at a number of properties. And as we were going through that process and looking at our code, it became apparent we hadn't looked at it in some time. I think it was originally drafted in the late 80s. And because we had a gap in time for the next council meeting, there was some concern that perhaps we would not be able to provide the ability for them to appeal the abatement. And so we did work with BB&K to draft the ordinance in front of you. Most of it is a cleanup item. One item that is more of a substantial change that I'll say is the delegation of the abatement appeals and the cost recovery. In the past, I don't think it's been done, at least in the last 10 years. One has been brought forward, but what was being recommended is that go to the hearing examiner as opposed to City Council. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Is there any public comment on this item?
No public comment, Madam Mayor.
All right, any questions? It seems to be in keeping with the prevailing custom of our neighbor cities to use a hearing officer for this kind of case.
That is correct.
Is there a motion to adopt staff's recommendation?
I make a motion to approve staff's recommendation.
And
I will second that.
please vote.
Motion passes 5-0.
And thank you for your attention to that, which should be of help to staff in facing those kind of situations. 14D, request for feedback and direction regarding updating chapter 5.04 regarding modification, suspension, or revocation of business licenses. Staff.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, Richard Canoni, Director of Development Services. The item in front of you tonight is a request for feedback on one on the recommendation. If you recall, a few months back, you had given direction for staff to go ahead and prepare an amendment to this section of the code, authorizing the city manager to suspend a business license without having to get authority from City Council. As we were drafting that and looking at sort of some other how other municipalities handled it and even some best practices, we wanted to modify that recommendation somewhat to essentially allow that suspension to convert to a revocation if it is not appealed. And then the second part of that is where we're seeking feedback is where that appeal would go, whether that would remain with City Council or if City Council wanted to delegate that to a hearing examiner. One other thing I will just add, Looking at the majority of the suspensions that we've done probably over the last 15 years, I think all but one of them was involved in some type of criminal investigation. And so that was the sort of the reason we want to at least bring the hearing examiner as an option to consider. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any public comment?
No public comment, Madam Mayor.
These have come to council rarely, if I'm correct. And at least my experience with the most recent case was such that I would not be comfortable delegating that decision. I would prefer to retain it for city council consideration, consistent with the trend of other cities. But how do others feel? Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I concur. As we saw from one of the last presenters, and independent of our decision, it provided the opportunity to hear from the owner that there had been a change in staff. So it allows us to gain a little bit more of an understanding of the circumstances and allows for transparency in the community when they have concerns and they have made complaints about a business. So I as well would prefer that the formal revocation become part of a council decision.
Does anyone take a different perspective? Do you have your direction?
I believe I do.
Okay. And do we need to take any action tonight, or can you just bring both back to us?
I will revise the language and bring the ordinance for consideration at the next meeting.
Very good. Thank you. Which brings us to public hearings. And my binder had the first public hearing right in front of the public hearing tabs instead of behind. So I don't know if anyone else was affected by that. Joint City Council and Housing Authority public hearing to consider removal of Blair Armstrong from the Palm Desert Housing Commission in accordance with the Health and Safety Code Section 34282. For our other committees and commissions, this kind of public hearing is not necessary, but it is because of the unique state code applicable in this case. So I will open the public hearing. And may we have a brief staff report?
Madam Mayor and City Council, Mr. Blair Armstrong was appointed to the Housing Commission in June 2022. And since that time, Mr. Armstrong has accrued 6 unexcused absences in the past 12 months. Despite many attempts to reach Mr. Armstrong, city staff has received no response as to the reason for the absences. Therefore, the City Council has requested to find Blair Armstrong to be in neglect of duty of his obligations as a housing commissioner and to remove him from the commission effective immediately. Thank you.
And is Mr. Armstrong present? It seems not. Does anyone else wish to speak? Then I will close the public hearing and ask for a motion to approve the recommendation.
Move to approve as presented.
I second.
Please vote.
Motion passes 5-0.
And for some reason, Ms. Gonzalez always ends up toward the end of the agenda. Item 15P, resolution to approve a proposed plan for bond issuance by the California Statewide Communities Development Authority for the crossings at Palm Desert Apartment Project. We will open the public hearing.
Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, Before you, you have, I did have a presentation with regards to this item. This is crossings at Palm Desert Apartments. It was approved in July of 2022 as a multifamily housing community located at the southeast corner of DeKelly Drive and Gateway Drive. The proposed community is to be 100% affordable, consisting of 176 units, varying from 1, 2, and 3 units. Unit heights. Next. The request before you is to hold a public hearing on the proposed plan for bond issuance, not to exceed 60 million for the proposed construction of the project crossings of Palm Desert. The City Council did hold a public hearing on July 13th, 2023. Unfortunately, the borrower's name was noticed incorrectly. And so in order to meet the Internal Revenue Code and the TEFRA hearing requirements, we needed to have this hearing again. So this item was already presented to you previously, but to meet those requirements, I'm here before you to have this public hearing. Thank you.
Does anyone wish to speak to the item? If not, then I will close the public hearing and.
Madam Mayor, there is one comment.
Thank you.
Mark Irving.
Mr. Irving?
Mr. Irving, you can go ahead and begin. Mr. Irving, last call if you are there.
All right, I will close the public hearing and ask for a motion to approve the recommendation.
I motion to approve.
Second the motion.
Please vote. Item 15C, ordinance to change the zoning designation of parcel 1 of parcel map number 36614, located approximately 500 feet from northwest corner of Highway 111 and Fred Waring Drive, from Resort Commercial Center PC4 to District Commercial Center PC2 with CEQA finding. Mr. Maloney.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and honorable members of the City Council. Nick Maloney with the Planning Division. This is Planning Case Change of Zone 23001. This project is located in the.
Let me open the public hearing. Continue.
Yes.
Sorry, I threw you off.
Oh, no. The project is located at 72-221 Highway 111, which is at the corner of Fred Waring and Highway 111. It is developed with an existing commercial shopping center, and the parcel in question totals about 1.34 acres. This is a request by the property owner and applicant to change the zoning designation from resort commercial center to district commercial center, which is consistent with the general plan. This item was brought before the Planning Commission that made a recommendation to approve the project subject to the findings and conditions. So that is a recommendation that the City Council adopt an ordinance approving the change of zone. Just for reference, here is the reference site plan for the project site showing the layout of the parking and the existing building. The city's municipal code doesn't establish any specific findings for the approval of a change of zone other than general plan consistency. So staff evaluated these, which are elaborated in more detail in the staff report submitted to the Planning Commission. Staff evaluated that the change of zone would not render any of the existing land uses within the center as inconsistent or non-conforming. Staff also evaluated that the existing development would remain consistent with applicable development standards under the PC2 zoning designation. we also evaluated SB 330, which I didn't include a slide on, but it doesn't violate that. For the CEQA analysis, the Planning Commission found that the project is exempt, as it would have no possibility of impact on the environment due to consisting with the general plan. So with that, staff's recommendation that the City Council adopts the Planning Commission's recommendation and pass the ordinance to second reading. Thank you.
Does anyone have comments on this item from the public?
The applicant is here in case you have any questions.
And no public comment, Madam Mayor.
All right. Then I will close the public hearing and invite council action.
Well, I make a motion to approve the zoning change.
And I second that.
Please vote.
Motion passes 5-0.
Item 15D, consider approval of a transient occupancy tax sharing agreement between the City of Palm Desert and New Age Desert Springs LLC. May we have the staff report?
Yes, good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council.
And I will open the public hearing.
Thank you. Eric Sayad, Director of Economic Development. We're going to load a PowerPoint here first.
Could you speak clearly into the
Yes,
microphone?
I can. Is it better? Excellent. We got PowerPoint for you here today. For a number of years, the City of Palm Desert's been working with the Desert Springs Marriott and looking at expanding their amenities and upgrading some of the property that is there. Most recently, we've been approached by ownership to look at a ballroom expansion, which can help them retain their existing convention space and business, but also expand upon that. Right now, the JW Marriott Desert Springs is the largest resort in Coachella Valley with over 800 rooms, 2 golf course, spa, several restaurants. It's actually the city's largest employer. And what is presented to you today is a tax sharing agreement to expand that ballroom space by 25,000 feet. The details of the sharing agreement include a reimbursement of 50% of that transit occupancy tax increment generated over the next 15 years with a maximum of $10 million. The TOT increment is a baseline. We're going to do a look back after the construction is complete for this facility, establish a 3-year average as that baseline, and anything above that baseline, that 50% would be reimbursed by the city to the Marriott for construction of that project. If the project ever falls below that baseline, the city will still retain now 100% of that TOT. Upon completion of that project, the project cost will be verified by the city, and this 3-year average will begin once that building is occupied. That really completes the details the staff is presenting today. We are recommending approval with the city manager's authorization to execute. The applicant and general manager for the Marriott is here today.
And as I understand it, this expansion is necessary for the site to continue to compete favorably with other city sites. All right. Anyone wish to? We have a request to speak from Scott White.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, members of the council and city staff. We appreciate the opportunity to speak. We're here. I'm Scott White, President and CEO of Visit Greater Palm Springs. We represent the hospitality industry and just want to encourage your support for this important initiative. The group business represents well over 60% of our business to the Coachella Valley, but we do compete with destinations such as Phoenix, Scottsdale, San Diego, Anaheim, Las Vegas. And certainly as groups continue to change and evolve, they're looking for more modern space, flexibility to expand into greater breakouts. So I think this project is going to be incredibly important, not only for the city of Palm Desert, but certainly for the hotel. It'll drive more jobs for the city and for our industry. It's a very important project. I applaud your vision and leadership to take this partnership to make this a reality. It's very difficult times, as you know, with the world of financing out there and this opportunity is certainly an important one, and we appreciate your support for this matter. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak?
Good afternoon, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. My name is Nusrat Mirza. I'm the General Manager at the resort. What just Scott mentioned, add a few more things. This is the most desired destination in Southern California for large conventions to come in. We have been working at the resort for 35 years with 2 ballrooms. Adding this 25,000 square feet of space will become much more competitive, as you mentioned earlier, with Texas, Arizona. Also, they're building a big convention hotel in San Diego. We can be behind all these great cities. So addition of this ballroom will not only bring additional business, will continue to do those who have been coming here for years and years, because they are all growing. Big associations, big conventions are growing. So this is a great addition to this beautiful city, and we want to continue the business. Looking forward for your support. Thank you so much.
Perfect thoughts. Okay. Anyone else wish to speak?
No additional public comment, Madam Mayor.
Then I will close the public hearing and invite council action. Please.
Actually, do have one question, if you don't mind. Thank you. No, I love the JW. I've been in the hospitality industry since I arrived here 30 years ago. I'm a big fan of the JW Marriott. That was our flagship property. So proud it's in Palm Desert. Question with the expansion by 25,000 square feet of the existing space, yet no consummate expansion of the hotel room capacity. Are you hoping to expand or attract more regional drive-in type conventions, or does the hotel with 800 rooms, in other words, will this accommodate a full house? Will the hotel be able to accommodate conventions that require 50,000 square feet? And so I'm just trying to figure out what you're going after.
Yeah, you're absolutely
Yes.
correct.
Yes.
As we grow the business, there are times where, if you think about it, at present, we run about yearly occupancy about 64%. So there's a lot more room left to add more to it. Our goal is the time. So throughout the year, we should fill this hotel. There's no reason why not. Even in summer times, you think about right now, as we're speaking today, tomorrow I have a group coming in 107-degree weather. People love this destination.
Okay, so in other words, you anticipate,
Capacity.
yeah, you've got the capacity and you anticipate
We have the capacity.
higher. Perfect. Thank you. That's just want to get my mind wrapped around it. Thank you.
Great
so much.
question. Thank you so much.
Don't turn off the mic. You can make the motion.
Indeed, do that. I do make a motion to approve as presented to council. Thank you, Ms. Kelly.
I'd like to second it and make a comment. This is a great formula where everyone benefits. And it's one of those opportunities where we look into the future and we will see it, the ROI there for us. So I appreciate this, and whatever we can do to help a partner like the JW Marriott, we all benefit. So thank you.
There is no partner like the JW.
Thank you.
Let's vote.
Motion passes 5-0.
I believe that concludes our business for this evening. Again, to those employees still present, thank you for your dedicated service.